This show is made possible by WebCentral, creators of beautifully effective websites and online marketing solutions for small businesses, just like yours. Gotta love that. Grab an exclusive listener deal over at webcentral.com.au/Timbo. And Key Person of Influence also make this show possible. They're a 40-week accelerator program designed to make you more visible, more valuable, and more connected in your industry. Who doesn't want a bit of that? You can grab a free hard copy of their New York Times bestseller over at keypersonofinfluence.com/ you guessed it, Timbo. Being successful is a good thing, right? But what about being significant? Does being significant smash being successful out of the park? Today's guest thinks so, and he's on an absolute mission to achieve it.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner and you are ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful, beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. That's what we do around here. That's what we do around here today. It's what we did around here last week. And in fact, that's what we've been doing around here for over 7 years. So thanks for joining us. Big show today. Now, I know I said last week we were going to be joined by a fellow who's got a business that's changing the way we shop for clothes. But that's going to have to wait until next week. Why? Because I have a timely interview that I want to share with you, being the start of November. It's with Adam Garone, one of the co-founders of arguably Australia's most well-known men's health charity, Movember. You heard of that? I hope so. It's pretty amazing. He joins us to explain why and how he wants to go from being successful to significant. I also share another low-cost marketing idea for you to implement immediately after this show on our new segment we lovingly call What Have You Got to Lose? And we revisit a past episode in which we go behind the scenes of a wonderful business called Spell and the Gypsy Collective. You guessed it, as per usual. There is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Coming up after our chat with today's guest, I share how to create an insanely simple and effective product or service demonstration video. I think you're going to love that. But first, Adam Garone. He is the co-founder and chief Mobro of the Movember Foundation. That is Movember with an M for Mary, the only charity tackling men's health on a global scale. In case you've been living under a rock and are unaware of Movember and how it works, well, it simply asks blokes to get sponsored to grow a mo during the month of November, with all the money raised going to fund research into men's health. Adam and the team have also found a way for women to get involved, which he shares during this chat. Now, how's this for a scoreboard? Since starting the foundation in 2003, Movember has had over 5 million people taking part. They've raised more than $770 million. They're in 21 countries and have funded over 1,200 men's health programs. Pretty amazing stats, hey? Now, this is a great chat. It applies to absolutely any business owner or marketer out there, including you. We cover plenty of ground. Why Adam is keen to shift from success to significance, how Movember is working hard to stay relevant in a pretty competitive marketplace, and who isn't in a competitive marketplace, by the way, the importance of user-generated content, and he's got a great idea that he shares about how he's going to get barbers to do his marketing. Genius, really. I started off by asking Adam, what is the deep-seated personal reason why he does what he does?
There is. I've always been passionate about serving. Initially, that was to the country. I was an officer in the Australian Army, and then got out, and then was in the corporate world for a bit, and then Movember popped up, and for the last 13 years I've lived a life of service to men's health and prostate testicular cancer and suicide prevention. So there's definitely something wired within me that is about giving back and service, and it becomes exceptionally fulfilling when you, and this happens all the time now on a daily basis, get emails, phone calls, messages from people whose lives you've saved and lives that you have changed.
What is it about the service thing?
It's so rewarding, I think, in the end. I think a lot about the difference between being successful and being significant. Certainly the first half of my adult life, which is not dissimilar to a lot of others, was about being successful in academics, in sports, and then in business, and more titles, more money, and that materialises in symbols of your success and gives you moments of happiness. But I think for a lot of people, there becomes a point in their life that you start to think about your legacy and think about hopefully rocking back on a chair at the ripe old age of 90 years and thinking about what was it that you did in your life that has left a legacy. And for me, that's all about being significant and supporting others that are less fortunate than yourself. And that brings absolute fulfillment and this deep sense of pride and happiness. And there's no better motivator. And for me, life is about being happy.
Hallelujah to that. Can you be significant? Do you have to be successful before you can be significant?
That is an interesting question, which I've thought about a bit. I think it helps, certainly, that you've had an element of success, that you have some sort of platform. But there's a bunch of other examples where there were people that have led a life of significance without necessarily being successful beforehand. I mean, when the four of us started Movember, we were just four average Aussie guys and chipping away, inspired to do something in our community and something for men's health. So we had an element of success, but we weren't wealthy, we weren't famous. We just got together and created this movement.
Example of when you say there are examples of people who have gone straight to being significant, are you talking is that like a Mother Teresa example?
Yeah,
or?
They're the examples that immediately pop to my mind. Yeah, that. And, 3 of the 4 co-founders, we went to a Catholic boys' school and certainly here in Melbourne, Whitefriars College, and we had a number of fathers and brothers that taught us, and it was a wonderful education. And to see the life of service that they led certainly went on to inspire me, and I know some of the other co-founders that went there as well. But, yeah, they're the immediate examples where someone just, devotes their life to something greater than themselves, and whether that's a religion or another particular cause. So I wouldn't say you would need or do need to be successful before, focusing on being significant.
It probably takes more courage to be going straight into being significant because success makes being significant, gives you breathing space, I'm guessing, to be significant. At what point then in the Movember journey were you sitting around going, we've got some pretty good success. We've raised a lot of dough. We're in a lot of countries. We've helped a lot of causes. What can you take us back to the time when you've gone, we have to move on from success?
Yeah, it was at the point that we'd raised cumulatively $100 million. So just winding the clock back here, I would have said that was 2009. We've raised, to put it into perspective, we've raised $770 million now.
Nuts. Well done.
So at the $100 million mark, we sat back and thought, that's great. We're in 21 countries, and we measured the organisation by success-based metrics. So it was how many people participated each year, how much they raised, how many countries we were in. And we stood back and was, okay, well, $100 million, an amazing amount of money. What impact have we had here? Have we actually moved the dial? Are less men dying from prostate cancer and testicular cancer? Are less men taking their life? How do you measure that? And so we went to all our partners at the time that we were funding, and it was really interesting. We put a lot of pressure on them. We do that even more so now, to not only just show us where the money went, but to show us how are they measuring impact and are we actually moving the dial. That changed our thinking. So, yes, you need success. We need people signing up. We need people making donations and fundraising. But the true measure here is, are we having a significant impact? Because otherwise you're just feeding the charity beast. And there's a number of organisations, and I won't name them, both in the for-profit and not-for-profit, but end up just becoming self-serving. And, where our sort of renegade approach to fundraising and the way we shook up the charity industry is what we're doing with research, and it's what we're doing with these support programs. We hold these researchers to unbelievable levels of accountability. They don't necessarily like it because they're not used to it.
Yeah. So can I challenge you on that? I may well have missed it, but having a look at Movember online, you've got a wonderful leaderboard section of your website where you talk about funds raised, Mo Bros and Mo Sisters in numbers, number of donations, countries, individual leaderboards, network leaderboards. I mean, it goes on and on. These are all success I think these are all success criteria. So how are you going to, or do you even shout significance from the mountaintop, or do you just let that play out organically?
Yeah, it's really good observation. And what we've realised over time is, the term gamification is used a lot now, and it's basically scoreboards, right? And
do you want to just explain that? Because I haven't done an episode on that, and I think it's a fascinating concept.
Yeah, so basically it's been around forever, but the new way people describe it is, you call it gamification. So what we build into the fundraising campaign each year are these elements that make it more like a game. So we have a leaderboard for individuals. We have a leaderboard for people at college or university. We have a leaderboard for corporate teams. We have leaderboards by country, and that engenders competition, and competition will create, in our case, more people to sign up and more money to be raised. So you're right, those things absolutely there are more around success-based metrics that you would expect in a game of football. And that has dramatically driven up levels of engagement, and ultimately has enabled us to raise significantly more money each year.
No doubt.
The significance part comes in really on the other side of the campaign, where our programs team are working around going, well, how are we going to use this money? What programs are we going to invest in? How are we going to measure the impact? And it's outside of the campaign that we've spent a lot of time on measuring our significance and reporting that back to the community. But when you're in the thick of the campaign, it's all about the banter, the office banter. I've raised $100. How much have you raised? So
is the ideal headline post-campaign, Adam? And I'm being a little bit facetious here, but Movember cures cancer.
Yeah, that's not an unrealistic headline. It won't be after this campaign, but we're getting close, and we're really close with testicular cancer, and the survival rate for that is 95%.
Can you draw, is there a relatively straight line between starting Movember back in 2003 and becoming, and 95% curing testicular cancer?
Yeah, I mean, the rates, the survival rates of both prostate and testicular cancer have gone up significantly. And in part, and I'm not going to claim this is all us, because it really is a community that's come together to of course, to challenge this. But what was happening before Movember? There was no money going to testicular cancer. There was very little money going into prostate cancer, and we put both of those diseases on the map. So, and with that came this amazing amount of financial capital. Now, if you were a young cancer researcher, PhD, passionate about cancer, ultimately you get to a stage in your research career that you're going to go, well, I need to get paid, so I'm going to go where the money is: skin cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer. there was no money in testicular cancer.
And all of a sudden, that PhD goes, oh, hang on, there's some group of blokes calling themselves Movember who are throwing a whole lot of dough towards this.
Correct. So what came first was the financial capital. Now we've got this amazing human capital coming in. I was in Southern California just last week at a conference for prostate cancer, and the amount of young people that are coming into this field, coming at it from a really different angle. And what's been amazing for us is that we're the only cancer charity in the world, and I don't say that lightly, we've researched this extensively, that's been able to unite the researchers focused on these diseases. Because we're in 21 countries, because we're the major funder, we've been able to create global strategies, unite these people that we're competing against each other for funding, and we've brought them to, and this has been over the last 6 years, and we're funding them to work together. And the rate at which we're now accelerating progress is phenomenal. So just to go back to testicular cancer, survival rate 95%, but still in 1 in 20 cases, these are young men, the cancer comes back, they become resistant to treatment. Because of Movember, we've resurrected a clinical trial that is now global. We've brought together a number of teams to figure out why is it these men become resistant and how can we create a new course of drugs, a new type of drugs to beat the cancer. So I'm confident within 5 to 10 years we'll have effectively cured that disease and no man should die from it.
It's insane, mate. I've got to ask, how does that make you feel?
Well, that's the significance part, right? It's, I get, oh, you're the Movember guy, you're the moustache guy.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to be known as, well, you're the guy that helped cure testicular cancer. And that would be, an amazing outcome.
So maybe on the tombstone, just a kind of cool-looking Mo illustration, but something more kind of significant as an epitaph. Tell me, hey, listeners, by the way, I'm talking to Adam Garone, who was one of the co-founders of the Movember movement that started in 2003, about to head into a 13th campaign this November, which started only yesterday. Tell me, let's talk significance and relevance, because one of the things that fascinates me is about Movember is how do you stay relevant? When you started back in 2003, I don't know, were there many months named after causes? Did we have Daffodil Day? Did we have Are You OK Day? Now you're operating in an insanely competitive marketplace. How do you get your head above the trench?
There was Daffodil Day for sure when we started, but there was no month renamed, and now there's Stoptober, Dry July.
There was Rocktober, 3XY,
Actually,
back then.
That was part of the inspiration.
Wow.
Rocktober, what do we do next? Let's do Movember.
Love it.
The other thing that we did was we were really back in the day in 2004. We were totally online. We were totally digital back then. It was the only way you could sign up and make a donation. Now that's commonplace now, but we pioneered that. We also pioneered just shaking up charity and making it super fun. And
that's interesting.
That was great. And we rode that wave for a long time. And part of our mantra and motivation back in the day was to shake up charity and create a new generation of philanthropists. So back when we started this, there was no such thing as a social entrepreneur. Now you can do degrees and master's degrees in social entrepreneurship. And
you a lecturer?
Yeah, I have been a guest lecturer.
You're a guest lecturer, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Tell me about the super fun. That's interesting. That's disruptive. Big word these days in business and marketing. Everything's disruptive. Uber's disruptive. Facebook's disruptive. How did you make charity super fun? Was it simply by adopting a month and having a fun name, or was it deeper than that?
Yeah, it was a combination of a lot of things. It was certainly all of that. But the concept of getting men to grow a moustache for charity it doesn't make sense.
It shouldn't work, really.
It shouldn't work, yeah. And I often say to people, it's like, if we can get to Movember to work on the scale that we have, no matter what your dream is, no matter what feedback you're getting, pursue it. If you truly believe in it, and I often think about this, and the journey, one of the success factors behind us was our resilience and grit and determination. And we absolutely believed in what we could achieve. We were super passionate about it because not only were we getting rejected and we were getting laughed at, because it's just like, that's a ridiculous idea. How could that possibly work? And then people started ignoring us, and then we knew we were onto something.
How? Hang on, because most business owners listening to that and others working for not-for-profits would just go, oh, yeah, okay, you're right.
Right. Well, there was that fundamental belief, and we created this crystal clear picture of here's what we could create. We could create the biggest charity event in Australia and then the globe for men. And the mechanic behind growing moustache is no different to doing a 10K run for breast cancer. You make a commitment to do a 10K run. We've often been called the laziest charity event in the world, where you do less to do more. But very early on, 2004, there were some really strong indicators, and that gave us ultimate confidence. So in 2004, our first fundraising year, we had 450 guys signed up, and we raised $54,000. And that was the single biggest donation the Prostate Cancer Foundation had ever received. And the fundamentals were, there were 450 people. Each of those guys raised about $110. They had conversations, and we got some media. Now we have, 600,000-700,000 guys participate each year, supported by the women, and they raise about $150 each. So that and have conversations that we get media. So those basic metrics, those basic business fundamentals were there right from the start. And what we've done over time is amplify those and grow. And I always think about, because I always get asked, how'd you build your community? And I always go back to the 450 people. If you can't get 450 people to come into your store or buy your product, it doesn't get any easier when you're trying to get 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. You've got to come back to who your 450 true passionate supporters, fans that are going to buy your product and are stoked on it and are talking about it and go, hey, this is good coffee, this is a good T-shirt, this is a good campaign, or whatever it is.
I'm sure there's a book by one of those business gurus about, isn't it 100 people?
1,000 True Fans.
1,000 True Fans.
Tim Ferriss talks about it a lot over in the US.
Yeah.
And I listen to his podcast as well, and I think about this a lot. And for us, it was 450 True Fans.
Yeah, right. Well, that's easier. That's more achievable. Back to relevance, Adam. So, because I'm still looking at it, and, even as you're talking, I've just written down pink, envious, which means these breast cancer guys and girls. I mean, that is an incredible story. Everything seems to be pink. I'm over things that are pink, right?
Yeah.
How do you stay relevant? How do you get noticed?
Yeah, and that is something we focus on a lot, because this is a 13th campaign, and we go, well, what's new? And over time, and every year, we treat the Movember brand like a lifestyle brand, like a fashion brand. So each year, the brand looks different. Each season, the brand looks different. So we invest in that. Over time, we've added the different causes: prostate, then testicular cancer, then suicide prevention. And what we've had to do, and we didn't realise it at the time, but the 2012 was this perfect storm. That was when really the Mo tipped over the edge and became a true movement. But we were built on the fashion trend, and a fashion trend that had passed. And fashion trends always come and go. So what happened in 2013 is grooming trends changed again.
Here comes the hipster.
Right. We literally put the moustache back on face of fashion. And then what those moustaches spurred on was beards. And, beards are still on trend, as is just general facial hair. So we had to roll with that. And now what we've done, and it's been quite challenging, is add other pathways with which the community can fundraise. So
it sounds like your greatest challenge is this one of relevance, I'm guessing, each year having to kind of figure out why are people going to take. You've got your core group, and it's a big community. Like
it's millions.
It's millions. So it's not as if you're always operating off a very high base to start with, but bringing in those new ones and nurturing them and staying relevant is really interesting. What's the best marketing? And you're not allowed to say word of mouth, because I don't believe word of mouth is marketing. I think it's the result of great marketing or great product.
Yeah, it's a great product, yeah.
What's the best marketing effort you've ever done where you've just gone, oh, geez, that had an impact?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always said there's no silver bullet at Movember. It's a combination of every element of the marketing mix and every element of the organisation working in sync. I could pick out a couple of, marketing initiatives that went really, really well. I don't think they, were define the success of the particular campaign. But relevance is a huge one for every product, and everyone, no matter what it is going to go through a life cycle. Early adopters, it becomes more mainstream, then you go into maintenance, and then one thing that we added on were two other pathways to participate, which is move. So for the first 4 letters of Movember, move. So it's about creating a physical challenge over the course of the month. So that was the first time we were able to go to the women who love the men in their lives and go, hey, for the first time ever, we've got a true way you can participate over the course of the month. And was create your own physical challenge. And the way we talked about so move for Movember. And the way we tied that back to men's health was getting the women to challenge the men in their life to match their move. And the best thing we can do for our health is to move. So it tied perfectly back into the issue that we were trying to face.
So how does that show itself? If a woman wants to become part of the Movember movement, she has to say, she's going to move 10,000 steps a day, or she's going to do something?
Correct. Yeah, it could be, whatever they're into. There's swimming, running, swimming, and then get the men in their life to match their move. And we've also got another initiative around hosting a fundraising event for Movember. And we always want that to be in true Movember spirit, so whether it's a ping pong tournament or a dinner or whatever it is, to bring people together, have a conversation and raise a little bit of money.
Speaking of women, I saw my dear old 90-year-old mum on the weekend, and I said to her, I'm interviewing you. Now, she's got a bit of a mo going. Doesn't mean do, but I asked her whether she'd sign up. She said no, but I'm going to keep working at it. It's a slow grow mo.
Right. Might be able to get a little cash donation off of it.
Yeah, correct. Tell me, it's a great cause and it continues to do wonderful things. What about user-generated content? Because I would imagine as a marketing kind of initiative, a lot of your tribe are doing the work for you, and not word of mouth, but actually creating content. Are they that they're sharing or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big part of our success and the way we've grown. And it was about inspiring our community to take and own our brand. And we're very precious around our brand, but we have a framework with which we then hand over to our community to personalise and make it their own. And the user-generated content piece has been massive. I mean,
what's an example of it?
Well, the best example is, the men participating in Movember growing moustache, they become walking, talking billboards for 30 days. It's, it's the best word of mouth campaign because it's on your face and in your face. But beyond that, and now that we all have platforms through our social media channels, creating content that talks about the why you're doing it. And Movember's evolved as an organisation and even our community. It's like, okay, this is fun. This is great, doing it for a good cause. And then it's like you get more into it. And it's like, okay, this is a really serious cause. And actually, my uncle had prostate cancer, or I had a mate that took his life last year. This is really important. And when you come back to relevance, it's, we're saying, made a lot of progress, but Movember's more relevant than ever before because we're losing the battle with the rates of suicide. We have to bring this issue out of the shadows and get the public talking about it. Twice as many men take their own life than die on the roads in Australia.
Wow.
You just think about the amount of money, effort the government's put into the TAC initiative, and yet that's killing 50% less men than suicide is, and no one is talking about suicide because as a society we don't want to talk about it.
Is there a confusion that you're dealing with in regards to what Movember stands for because you're adding these additional causes? It started off as prostate cancer and now it's testicular cancer, it's men's mental health.
Yep. right from the get-go, Movember was always about men's health. And we wanted to create an organisation that we were proud to be part of and would be part of. And normally a charity is singularly focused, but in the health space particularly, breast cancer, testicular, skin cancer, you name it. We're holistically about men's health, and you can't have physical health without mental health. 80% of the guys that are diagnosed with prostate or testicular cancer fall into depression.
Yep.
And so they're intrinsically linked. So to think about cancer without thinking about your mental health doesn't make sense. And it's also what differentiates us. And I agree with you. It's a long story arc. It's a long story arc to talk about men's health holistically and then get down to each of the three issues that we focus on. We've never taken the easy road. We've never taken the shortcuts. And I think about the digital life that we live in, and people, here's some life hacks. Here's how to get from A to B quickly. Yeah. That's not how you build a brand. Yeah. I look at the long cuts and go, to build a brand people love takes a long time. Yeah. And it's about consistently projecting your brand in a way people would expect. And it's as much as about what you don't do. Yeah. Yeah, well said. Tell me about one thing I love that is on your drawing board you're actually doing is bringing barbers into the conversation. Yeah. I love this idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. It's, barbers right from the get-go, a huge part of Movember. Little backstory here. When we started to grow Movember, we looked at who are the connectors in our society that could help spread the word. Bartenders, barbers, people that work in the hospitality industry. So we went to them first and told them about Movember, and particularly barbers. Movember is about grooming, and their barbers are an intrinsic part of it. And then we looked at, again, the suicide rates and mental health, and 80% of the guys that take their life are not engaged in any sort of professional support. So it's like, how do we reach these guys? Now, on average, a lot of men go to a barber, and a lot of them go to the barber about every 5 to 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. We're in the chair for about half an hour. We're starting to build a relationship with the barber, and we talk about football, we talk about stuff, but it's the perfect check-in point. And barbers are already having these conversations about, what's going on in your life. And maybe you've lost your job, maybe there's some financial problems, maybe your relationship is not working out. Barbers, we want to create an online training program where we facilitate and help empower barbers to have informed conversations, how to respond when someone says they're feeling down or depressed or even suicidal. And beyond that, and particularly in Australia, these guys are up very close to our skin, so train them on how to identify a potential skin cancer and just go, hey, have you had that checked out? And in the mental health space, it's sort of the same. It's like, hey, man, it sounds like you're going through a real tough time. Are you all right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about it and arm them with where to potentially direct people, but also empower them to have a conversation right then and there? Mate, it's a great idea. And so the barbers, how do you get to them? How do you actually communicate? There's this online training, guys, if you really want to broaden your horizons and expand your business almost. Key to this is building the program with barbers. We don't want this to be a Movember program for barbers. This needs to be a program ongoing by barbers for barbers. And we'll take this to the schools where new barbers are educated and trained, so hopefully it's a formal part of their education. Then we'll go to the owners of the barber stores and say, hey, we would really love it if you mandated this for all your barbers to this online course. And it's not going to be, it's going to be 6-7 hours online, own time. But as I said, these barbers are having these conversations anyway, and they potentially play such an important role in our society. And back in the day, they did. They used to call them barber surgeons in the 16th and 17th. They did too. Century, yeah, and that's where the barber pole comes from. They used to do bloodletting and pulling of teeth, and there would be blood-soaked bandages out the front combined with clean bandages, and that's where the barber pole comes from. Well, maybe you'll get to the point where we can start going back to the barbers and claim it as a medical expense going forward, psychiatric consultation. get a teeth pulled while you get a haircut.
Hey, Adam, I'd love to say thank you to you and your three mates who started Movember. May it continue for a very long time to come. The concept that you mentioned of service resonates deeply with me, and having spoken to the two blokes who started Orange Sky Laundry only a few weeks ago, a lot of what you say and how you say it is very similar to them, and that's why I think you're both having such huge success. So best of luck going forward, buddy.
Well, thank you for having us, Tim.
Well, there you go, team. Adam Garone, co-founder of Movember. Inspiring stuff, huh? If you want to get involved with Movember, then head over now. It's never too late. You can get involved throughout the year. Just grow a mo right now and donate them some money. Head over to Movember.com. And by the way, if that conversation triggered anything in you that may be a cause for concern, then please call Lifeline on 13 11 14. That's in Australia. Or check out the mental health resources over at beyondblue.org.au. Now, coming up, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Adam. Plus, we've got our next instalment of What Have You Got to Lose? But first, here's a word from 2 businesses that want to help you build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Support for this show comes from Key Person of Influence, the world's leading business accelerator program for those wanting to be an industry thought leader. Their 5-step KPI method teaches you how to nail your pitch, publish content, productize your offer, raise your profile, and partner with performers. I asked co-founder Glenn Carlson, what's with the P fetish?
Oh, yeah, I suppose it is a bit of a fetish, isn't it? But I guess we're just a bit obsessed. You know, fetishes, obsessions, we're just business geeks, mate. We believe there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur, and we're all in. We are just all in. And if we find best practices and ideas as a result of what's working for our clients all around the world, we just want to bring it to people. And so far, the best framework that we've found to be able to do that, to really accelerate that entrepreneurial journey in the shortest time, is the 5 Ps. So, mate, get in on the fetish.
KPI, where fetishes rule. For a free hard or audio copy of their Amazon bestseller, visit keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo. Oh, and a little warning, don't read it before bed. You just won't sleep. Support for this show comes from WebCentral, who are pretty damn good at driving traffic and leads your way. Verity Ma, their marketing head honcho, recently drew an interesting analogy for what a website without traffic is like.
Your website is a billboard in the desert if you don't have any traffic coming to it. So similar to having an advertisement out in the Sahara Desert, if you don't have any traffic driving past it, then people aren't going to know anything about your business. It's a bit of a waste of time. So yes, it's important, and the first step is to get that billboard, which is your website. But past that, you need to actually get found, and then from getting found, get leads into your business. So you need to get traffic or cars driving past your website to actually know what you do, what your business offers, and how you're different to your competitors. Because your competitors are out there getting traffic to their website.
Do camels count as traffic? WebCentral, helping your website get found fast. Visit webcentral.com.au for exclusive listener offers. Okay, my top 3 attention grabbers from that chat with Adam Garone, the co-founder of Movember. Attention grabber number 1. I like Adam's thinking around going from successful to significant. I reckon this way of thinking can just as easily refer to for-profit businesses as much as it does to not-for-profit businesses. So I think an interesting question to ask is, what first step do you need to take in order for you or your business to become more significant in your industry? And if you want a good place to start, I encourage you to grab that Key Person of Influence book, because that's kind of what it's all about. keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo is where you'll get your free hard copy. Attention grabber number 2, reinvention of the Movember brand each year, I think is quite genius, a really smart idea. And it raises the question, when was the last time you gave your visual brand identity a bit of a tickle? maybe the time is right to do that right now. And hey, we have another supporter of this show, Design Crowd. They do that kind of stuff. Attention grabber number 3, being in service. I love that mindset. You know, it's another mindset we can all adopt. I like to think I'm in service to small business owners who are wanting to grow their business using effective marketing. And having that mindset for me certainly makes delivering this kind of information so much more rewarding than just doing it for the money, right? So how can you be more in service and adopt that mindset? That's what grabbed my attention. What grabbed yours? Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/337 and let me know.
What have you got to lose?
All right, it is time for me to share one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can implement immediately after the show finishes. An idea that won't cost a fortune, if anything, and that might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, and ultimately more sales. We love a bit of that. Today's idea is to create a product or service demonstration video. Now, how's this for a stat? Did you know that our brains process visuals 60,000 times faster than text? So with that in mind, not really a surprise that videos have become one of the primary ways for businesses to educate customers on their products or services. Thanks to video hosting sites like YouTube, Vimeo, and the plethora of video creation software tools that now exist, and I'll mention some of those shortly, it's really never been easier for your business to create and share high-quality videos with your prospects online. It just makes sense, right? Well, unfortunately, it's not always easy to know where to start, and that's why I'm here. So if you want to start experimenting with creating business videos, then start with a demonstration video. Most businesses that have an active presence online have one. Why? Because they're helpful, they're easy to make, and they're great for conversion. So here's my 3 simple step process to getting your demonstration video sorted. Number 1, get clear on what you want to focus on. Do you want to share a broad overview or a specific benefit? Step 2, write a script. Now, since it's only your voice and not your face that's going to be included, you can read your script word for word. Make sure you put a bit of personality into it though. Your script should also include cues that help remind you what to show on your screen as you go through the demo. And I would suggest go through your entire demo once or twice before recording. Step 3, use Camtasia, Jing, or Google Hangouts to record your demo. I'll put a link for those in the show notes. Now, when it's ready, upload it to YouTube and share it on your website. And I'll also include an example of a good demo video in the show notes over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/337. So, what have you got to lose? Well, that almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Coming up next week, we hear from a fellow who is changing the way we shop for clothes. I promise he'll join us. Now, recently, I chatted with Lizzie Abeg of Byron Bay business, Spell and the Gypsy Collective. Here's Lizzie talking about an epiphany she had that led to what is now a multi-million-dollar fashion empire.
I remember waking up the next morning and it's like I just saw this bright light shining all the way to Byron Bay, and I rang Isabella and just said, do you need a business partner? And it was like it just connected. She was just like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need. Like she just knew she wasn't getting anywhere with the business on her own.
Well, that certainly was the start of an amazing business journey. To hear my full interview with Lizzie, plus hundreds more, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or you can subscribe free on iTunes. Hey, I'd also love to hear from you. Email me. Feedback, comment, question. My email address, tim@timreid, reid.com.au, or you can hit me up on Twitter over at Timbo Reid. Be sure to grab a free hard copy of the Key Person of Influence book over at keypersonofinfluence.com/Timbo, but only only if you want to become more visible, valued and connected in your industry. And to avoid your website becoming a billboard in the desert, i.e. getting no traffic, then visit webcentral.com.au/Timbo. You know, the more peeps that get to see your website, the more inquiry you're going to get and probably the more sales. So it would be a good thing to do. Check out webcentral.com.au/Timbo. If you loved the Small Business Big Marketing Show, pay it forward by letting another business owner know. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.